everyone. Shout out to the hottest chat in the MF game. A-side official. No negotiations needed, period. Blessings to everyone that was able to make it up, out, and into the world today. For whatever reason you have to, whether it be for work, visiting loved ones. Salute to those who made it up. Now, of course, my purpose for doing a live this morning, quickly, it's not going to be too long, was to talk about some of the state of affairs that had passed by recently. Starting off straight off the rip with Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora. You know, I see people reflecting back on, you know, when Tim Tszyu's pops, Costa Tszyu, retired on the stool in 2005, and Tim Tszyu retired on the stool in 2025. Boxing is a very, you know, what have you done for me? What do you intend to do for me after this? And why should I even stay close to support you for what you've done? You know what I'm saying? Boxing fans, like, they give you a prorated version of support that you didn't know you had. You just think, I'm going in there, I know I'm training hard in fight camp to go in here and be the best I could possibly be. But fans out here taking you through a loan process and bringing you in, well, based off your boxing FICO score, you know, this is what I see. We're gonna hit you with an interest rate of 16.6%. And we're gonna, if you're unable to pay this back in this certain amount of time, we're definitely gonna give you a balloon payment. What I'm saying is, it's very, very difficult to sustain constant support when it comes to boxing fans and fighters. When it comes down to Tim Tszyu, he was on the high not too long ago. He was on the high. They had his name in many of talks. Now he's done crashed and burned. Now people saying that he was never good. And you know, boxing does have a history of when you're matched up with certain fighters, styles always make fights. And Tim Tszyu pretty much showed us that he has some things going up top. You know what I'm saying? Psychological headquarters, there's some things going on. For him to retire on the stool when it looked like, you know, he just had a cut up over his beneath his eye. It didn't seem like he was anywhere in desperate measures like the first one, where he had the cut on top of his head. I didn't think he was in dire straits. But he retired on the stool, y'all. That wasn't a good look. Shout out to G5 in the building. What's good with the G5? Hope all is well with your big dog. Salute. So I don't know what to say about Tim Tszyu's future, but Sebastian Fundora right now is a name I use as segue into another fighter that's supposed to be debuting at 154. Outside, Sebastian Fundora is the man at 154 actively. Okay? I can't sit up here and put Murtazalayev into the picture. My fault, y'all. I thought I hit a bump in the road. I can't put Murtazalayev in the picture, right? I mean, because word has it, not too many people trying to fight him, or whatever the case may be. It would be good if Sebastian Fundora can expound on his unification. You know what I'm saying? He's coming off the WBO with Xander Zayas being able to fight for the vacant. So I don't know what Sebastian Fundora plan on doing at 154, or even if he's planning on staying there. But I would wish that Jerron Ennis would call out Sebastian Fundora to basically level change and just go from mediocre, basic to superstardom. Because if Jerron Ennis can go from 47 and debut at 54 and face a fighter like Sebastian Fundora, it would absolutely catapult his career into the entirely different stratosphere, yo. Of one name. This is the man who said he planned on being undisputed in 4 divisions. But yet, Turkey has been on record as saying, I'm not charity. Yeah, don't come to me for charity. Turkey said, I'm not charity. Don't come up here to me talking about you want 2 tune-ups. What? Jerron Ennis want 2 tune-ups. What? Ennis need to go up there and call out Sebastian Fundora ASAP. ASAP. They kind of tied into the same people. PBC, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, Sebastian Fundora, can talk to the powers that be over there at TGB. Eddie Hearns, it's not like he's unfamiliar with that. Boots is familiar with that organization. Get together and come up with a semi-mega fight. 2 formerly unified champions meeting at 154. Both of them came off their belt the exact same way. Sebastian Fundora came off the WBO title. Now Xander Zayas is fighting for it. Then you look at Jerron Ennis, he came off the IBF title. You know what I'm saying? Both of them came off the titles. So now the only thing left to do that's reasonable, that makes all the sense in the world, is for Ennis to call out Sebastian Fundora, and let's just cut through the freaking chase. Let's just cut through the chase. I mean, Sebastian Fundora, he's undefeated when it comes to black fighters. I'm just saying. Jamonte Clark gave him the best contest, and he should have won that fight. Shout out to Jamonte Clark out of Cincinnati. He should have won that fight. And then, Erickson Lubin, we seen what happened. He gave a valiant effort, but no. Cordell Booker, no. No Charlo. I don't want to really bring in the brothers, but I'm trying to say, like, look at the divisions where the black fighters isn't. We don't have a lot of divisions where we have black champions anymore. But black fight fans are out here pro bono, dogging out the ones we do have without supporting them and saying, hey, why don't we see this fight? Why don't we see that fight? There's not many divisions out of the 17 that we have a plethora of black champions running that division. We don't see it at all, man. It's almost like, just like the mixed martial arts. It's almost like you have a lot of black fighters that's going extinct, man, that's supposed to be competitive contenders. And the black media is not doing enough to get it done. If we support Ennis, we should want to see him fight the best, right? Period. Errol Spence was once upon a time up on that ladder, right? But we don't know if he's ever going to return. Now we have the 135-pound division, which is very, very active with names that could be contenders, right? We have to want them to fight each other, period. Like, yeah, we have to have some type of understanding of them fighting each other and basically request these type of matchups. I want to talk about these 2 other black fighters that their name is ringing right now, and we need to get some clarity on. That's Norman Jr. and Haney. I try to tell people all the time that YouTube has been in effect for a long time, right? So therefore, you should know who Bill Haney is. Senior, Norman Senior, is just came on the scene not too long ago, but he's learning the ropes of this YouTube. He's been doing a lot of interviews. What he's also finding out is that Bill Haney has an extensive amount of influence. And I mean, it's not really good influence all the way around the board, but he has enough influence on some of these channels to push the same freaking narratives. Let's talk about testing Vala 365, right? A lot of people was running around here like they're professors of the Voluntary Anti-Doping Agency. You know, oh, they're supporters, full-blown supporters of the full 365. The first fighter was ever to do it was Nonito Donaire, right? Victor Conte was on record as saying that he came out of his pocket to grow the 365. He came out of his own pocket. But then he also mentioned on the back end of that fighters wouldn't do it. Even when he was trying to invest his own money into the program with certain fighters, they wouldn't do it. But Nonito Donaire was the first fighter to sign up for 365. Now, why is it a question all of a sudden with Brian Norman Jr.? You know, those cats who try to, you know, rewind this and crochet it into something else that it isn't, you call them scoundrels. Because these cats that get on here and talk about how boxing's supposed to be best fight the best bullshit, right? But they really don't want to see the best fight the best, especially if the best is a dangerous fighter like Norman Jr. When Devin Haney went in there and took that punishment and Ryan Garcia, these same individuals that's deciding to run behind the carriage, you know what I'm saying, dust in their mouth and everything, getting hit in the head with rocks, they said, we support Devin Haney. It's amazing. Look, check this out. It's amazing how they jump back on the Devin Haney bandwagon when they were saying in criticism that he got his ass beat by Ryan Garcia, right? So now all of a sudden you have fighters pulling out that don't want to step in there with Devin because they say he's too boring. I'm not saying that. I give him his props for becoming undisputed in 2 division. Just like I give the competition that Norman Jr. has faced recently to put him in a position to be chased down or pursued the way he's being pursued. But it gets to a point where you have individuals that say they want the best fighting the best, but they make it about calling off the fight. Oh, we want drug testing. I don't think this is all about drug testing, bro. I just think this is all about selling wolf tickets and see if Team Norman was going to bite. There's a whole lot of lies that be put out there that the fight fans are willing to believe because Bill has tenure out here in these YouTube streets. But not everything Bill Haney says is absolutely truth, bro. The real ones know. Some of the shit he said is what it is. But you speak about the best fighting the best, but you don't want that shit. You got 2 fighters that have big names, knowing that we need boxing, you know what I'm saying? We need to add we need to spruce up boxing a little bit. It get turned into a sideshow, a local circus. Why? Because now certain individuals want to push that Brian Norman may be potentially on PEDs. And then you have individuals out here claiming that just because Bill put a request out there to start it now, he felt that Norman may be hiding something. So my point is, be careful what you ask for. Because all you out here, they're saying, you know, Norman's knockouts, you know, is part of something being enhanced. You better hope there's some type of criteria to validate that. You better hope and pray. Because him stepping in there with Haney, this is the do or die for Haney's career. Because you want to put him on 365 all the way up to November, and he goes in there and make Devin Haney the spokesperson for Ambien Plus, discounted for all boxers. Let's see where all these bandwagon riders are going to be then. You know what I'm saying? I know Devin said he's going to handicap Norman Jr., but also he has to understand that there's a lot goes into the word handicap, especially when you can't do for yourself no more. Just ask Jen Psaki. Just ask Jen Psaki. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot that goes into not being able to do for yourself when you're unconscious. Sometimes you don't want to really irritate something that's already there. The narrative to suggest that Norman is now dirty is crazy. But yet y'all spend so much time talking about Devin Haney don't have no power. But yet he's on snack. Why all of a sudden you're not keeping the same energy? Does snack allow you to have extra strength? If you don't believe that shit, so stop saying it for Crawford. Just keep it on Haney. Because if y'all want to sit up here and talk about snack and want to talk about everything else that goes along with it, then be consistent. I'm just saying, be consistent about it. Be consistent with snack, yo. That's all I'm saying. Be consistent with snack. Because in one breath, y'all talking about how snack is an enhancement, right? Y'all talking about how snack is an enhancement. Then you turn around and you take a fighter that's not on snack, and Brian Norman, and you feel some type of way about him relieving Jen Psaki of 2 months of his life. You know what I'm saying? You're relieving. Look, you're mad because a fighter went over there and pretty much knocked out a fighter that's already been knocked out, but did it in devastating fashion. But now all of a sudden you want to say the man juicing when you all have been complaining about Victor Conte this whole entire time. Y'all been blaming fighters that was on snack. Now all of a sudden you cowards sit up here and say, oh, Devin Haney versus Norman Jr. Norman Jr. is not affiliated with snack, but he may be on something. All because of the way he knocked out Jen Psaki, a fighter that y'all say was a bum. A fighter that you say, oh, Norman Jr., he ain't sold out nothing in Georgia. He ain't sold out nothing. But he goes overseas and KOs Jen Psaki. Then y'all start, pulling your panties up and say, oh, we need to start pushing. We need to start pushing this, you know what I mean? We need to push this steroid narrative on Norman Jr. That's what we need to do. I mean, that's boxing at the end of the day, man. They don't know what they want. Do they want best fight the best? Or they just want gossip? It seems like to me they just want gossip. Because why should a fight materialize like this, right, in the media? A productive, conducive fight. One that we'll go see. Why would something like this materialize out of nowhere that makes sense? And then you got people tearing it down and saying that Norman Jr. don't want to be on VADA 365 because he hiding something. So he gets on 365 and everybody shuts the fuck up. Now they hoping and wishing he comes back with something. Seriously. They put the narrative out there and then they're going to hope and wish all the way up to November that something happens. If nothing comes back, they're going to say, oh, well, man, I mean, how y'all see this fight going? Hey, somebody talk to me. How y'all see this fight going with Norman Jr. Haney? It's this week, man. How y'all see it going? Any tests came back yet? No? Okay. They're going to be up there talking about any test. They're going to be throwing pigeons up in that mug. Go see. Go spy on them. Go down there, fly down to Georgia and spy on them. We want to see if these tests are coming back and see if they're missing something. I kind of look at this with Ryan Garcia saying that, there's a connection with Bada and all that. And how they say they want the best fight the best. But when it comes time for you to fight the best, okay, Ryan Garcia, he tests positive, but he says it just came out of nowhere. He don't know how he did it, okay? I'm just saying. I'm going to tell you this. It's not going to work out the way you think. If you all are trying to plot and plan just because you're in a position, right, to try to say, okay, this is a third division for Devin, and you're hoping and wishing to say, if we can eliminate, if we can come up with this plan to eliminate the tough competition, we can get the title up here, because not everybody's want to fight Devin Haney. If we can eliminate the competition, it's not going to work out the way you want. If anything comes out of this test from a fighter that's never tested dirty, and it's affiliated with Team Haney, once again, people are going to start to really raise a brow or two and say something's not right. Something's grimy about this. No, something ain't right. This is two fighters that's been associated with this particular team that popped dirty. That's never popped dirty before. Now, I know it was very, very, very cloudy with Ryan Garcia. I get it, because he was everywhere. But you don't hear Norman Jr. on here drinking, smoking, doing all that other shit. But the ped that he did pop positive for was punching extremely destructive. Now, I put a tweet out with that. He popped positive for ped, punching extremely destructive. And still, these grown-ass adults. This is why I don't have much trust in people in the boxing community to basically use more than their common sense, because common sense ain't that common. I've clearly put punching extremely destructive has now brought about ped use, because somebody has been blessed with the power, which outside of Crawford, Thurman, we just don't have that power structure. We just don't have, a fighter that's sitting out here cleaning house with his competition. We don't have it no more. But to say, okay, so-and-so knocked this person out, now we want to talk about performance-enhancing drugs, right? We want to talk about performance-enhancing drugs. This shit didn't come up with Boca Chica. It didn't come up with Santion. It didn't come up with Cuevas. It came out when the negotiations fell out with Jaron Ennis, and then he went overseas with Jen Sasaki. Look, nobody was saying shit. Bing, bing, the bell rang, the fight commenced. He ended up flatlining Jen Sasaki. Flatlining. This man comes back to his own country, and now there's propaganda being spewed talking about Brian Norman should be tested. Jaron Ennis just knocked out Stantionis. He just stopped Stantionis. Nobody was asking for Jaron Ennis to get on VADA. Nobody's requesting Jaron Ennis to get on VADA. Nobody whatsoever. Nobody. Jess Rodriguez continue to go up here and stop his opponents. Nobody's asking for him to be on VADA 365. Nobody. Nobody's asking him to be on VADA 365. Why? Why isn't somebody asking him to be on Vada 365? I'm just curious. When Sebastian Fundora stopped Cordell Booker, was somebody asking him to be on Vada 365? No, there wasn't. When he stopped Tim Tszyu this past weekend, were they asking Sebastian Fundora to get on Vada 365? No. When Brian Mendoza knocked out Sebastian Fundora, were they asking him to be on Vada 365? No, they weren't. They weren't asking him to do that. No, not as I know of. When Hamza Shiraz knocked out Edgar Berlanga, were they asking Shiraz to be on Vada 365? Anybody? Oh, the answer's no. The answer's no. They weren't asking them to be on Vada 365. When Alexander Usyk just knocked out Daniel Dubois again, have you heard one person say Usyk should be tested Vada 365? No. No. Not at all. Look. Check this out. Check this out now. Reynoso has a 7th fighter test dirty. Hold up. He has his 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7th fighter. 7th fighter tests positive for performance-enhancing drugs. But when 2 and 3 hit, nobody asked Eddie Reynoso fighters to be on Vada 365. But lo and behold, this right here, look at this. Woo! Look at that. Look at that skin color right there. Lo and behold, Norman Jr. knocks out a Japanese fighter who's been stopped before. And the blasphemy for him to come home, not to a hero's welcome, a champion's welcome. I'm pretty sure people were sitting up there celebrating. But to come back to the U.S. of good old A and hear all the steroid rumors. Boy. Oh, say can't. No. There's no patriotism. I didn't hear none of you cowards talking about Reynoso's camp, holding him to a standard for his fighters to be on Vada 365, you cowards. But you want to sit up here and take one fighter with the father that's making a name and got the momentum, got the energy behind them. You want to say they need to be tested. Coward is born every second of the day, especially the ones that don't know how to stand up for themselves. You can be a coward and stand up for yourself, but it's all about what you're standing up for. That's what makes you an even worse type of person, because you get in these groups and you listen to people and you say, I really don't like that guy. So yeah, I have no problem with freaking pushing this narrative that he owns juice. But Reynoso had his 7th fighter, and I didn't hear the 2, the 3, or the 4 when they tested positive. When Jaime Munguia tested positive, I didn't hear none of you out here suggesting that Jaime Munguia should all of a sudden be on Vada 365. But Bill Haney say he's advocating for a clean sport. As long as you're the right ethnicity, as long as you're not facing his son. I got it. Bill Haney is advocating for a clean sport outside of this right here. Right? That's what you want to believe. For real. Outside of this right here, has anybody heard Bill Haney advocating for a clean sport with Vada 365 with all these other fighters? Even before Ryan Garcia. No, they was up there shaking hands to pay for a penalty if he comes in overweight. But you cowards that's out here pushing this agenda, why are you scared to fuck with Reynoso's camp? Why are you so timid to fuck with Reynoso's camp? Somebody explain that to me. Why you scared? Why are you gonna dumb it down to a fighter who just recently picked up his belt and out here they got the juice? I'll tell you why. Because fighters love trying to clout chase other fighters. And in our community, it's not with support. It's trying to find something to break them down. The wild part about it, I used to think that it was just strictly dark-skinned fighters. Wilder, Crawford, right? No, clearly Brian Norman is not dark-skinned. But what they did is, I want to go and support where the influence at, where the power's at. The power is Bill Haney has put work in on the YouTube roadways. So therefore, you have some individuals that call themselves supporting Devin Haney, again, AGAIN, because they pretty much jumped off the bandwagon. You remember, right? You remember? And there's no knock on Team Haney, man. I don't have nothing bad to say about Team Haney, personally, except those who know. I remember seeing some individuals at the tables when Haney, they was up there with a full belly, and they were saying, "Oh, Sir Haney, thank you for purchasing dinner for us, Sir Haney. Oh, bellies are full, and the itis is just kicking in the first phase. We love you so much for the time and effort that you put in." You know, not one person at that table said, "Sir Haney, I just want to thank you for advocating for a clean sport, Volley 365. No. They was thanking him for purchasing their meal, a delicious, succulent meal out there. I guess the meal tastes a little bit better when your wallet doesn't have to be visited or accosted to retrieve a payment method. I didn't hear anybody talking about, "Thank you, Sir Haney, for a freaking, you advocating for Volley 365. But all of a sudden, when Hammy McGill tests positive, I didn't hear Bill Haney saying, "You know what? I mean, hey, look at it. You know, we got to advocate for a clean sport. And Hammy McGill, we can't be having this in the sport. No. Come on, man. We need to do better. I got to get on the phone with Victor Conte so he can try his best to get more fighters to sign up. We can't have what just happened to Hammy McGill. That's like the 6th fight over there at Reynoso, right? You didn't hear none of that shit. But all of a sudden, you have these activists that want to run with the narrative that an American fighter has potentially put himself in the spotlight from a crushing knockout that he may be on juice. Boy. I tell you, the audacity to think that boxing fans give a damn about the fighters. The worst combat sports fans in the world are boxing fans. Point blank, period. Point blank. You want to know what the worst? You want to know what the worst when it comes to ethnicity and race in boxing? Blacks. Period. Not all of them. Because look, you don't see the Mexicans doing this, trying to tear down other Mexican fighters. They'll tell you straight up, in your face. If it's a black and a Mexican fighter, I'm gonna goddamn go with the Mexican fighter. But now you have Devin Haney and Brian Norman, and we just not too long ago, we just got off what? Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. And we all know the smear campaign that was ran on Crawford. Boy, they smear campaign every time. Look in the catalogs. The dirt still, the dirt still fresh, man. It ain't too many grass and weeds done grown in. Dirt still fresh. Them narratives that they were pushing, dirt still fresh. Seriously. Shout out to my guy Haynes on deck. What's good with it? And they ain't buried. The dirt is still fresh from the narratives that they was pushing for Crawford Spence. They switch it up, y'all. That just goes to show you how cowards migrate, how cowards transform in the sport of boxing as fans. They dogged Deontay Wilder out till he was out. Didn't appreciate it. Dogged Crawford out to the point where Crawford was moving a bit different than they actually thought he was moving. You know what I'm saying? They was kind of shocked that he knew certain people like Warren Buffett, Turkey Al-Sheikh, and all that. So that happens on July 29th the way it did. Years pass by. We get a fight that produces interest to the boxing fans. We thought it was going to be Jaron Ennis. They was on Jaron Ennis bandwagon. So they said, well, we was shitting on Brian Norman when it was in negotiations with Jaron Ennis. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to keep it fair. We're going to go back to the Devin Haney support that we was giving him when we was trying to match him up against Teofimo Lopez at lightweight. We're going to go back and give Devin Haney this fake, interest that we was doing when he was at lightweight, trying to get him to fight Teofimo Lopez. That's what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do. Real talk. That's what we're going to do right there. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to switch it up a little bit. We're not going to target the dark-skinned dude no more. No, this is Bill Haney. This is Sire. This is the man who said he want to advocate for a clean sport when he find out a fighter's about to go on vacation. So now you got to look at it. Did you just like a different type of fire from a fighter who's on a roll right now? You're talking about you're going to handicap somebody. When Norman Jr. handicapped Jin Sasaki. You're talking about a fighter who went in there with Jose Ramirez, who didn't have the punching power of Norman Jr., and you allow him free space. You allow him free space. Very minimal damage. But now all of a sudden, with the seventh fighter from Reynoso's camp testing positive, Bill Haney wants to advocate for Valor 365 on Brian Norman Jr. Boy, I swear to you, it can't get no different, yo. It can't get no different than that, man. The reality is what it is. And nobody talking about, putting Reynoso's fighters on Valor 365. But you get a fighter that they say that's never headlined and sold out a card in Georgia, that's now got the juice. Now people showing interest. Now they say, I want to see Norman Jr. back in the ring giving us knockouts. I want to see that man go in there and give us the war. He's doing some of the same shit Bam Rodriguez does. They're giving you aggression. They're giving you close quarters. The opposite of the shit that you was complaining about Devin. Now, granted, Devin didn't fight all his fights like that. He fought Jorge Linares in the pocket. He fought Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? He even fought George Kambosos. So it can happen. But you know what? None of them fighters had the punching power with Brian Norman Jr. I'm just being honest with you. None of them had the punching power with him. So you got to ask yourself, is he willing and able to take that sacrifice? Yeah, we all see, but this Valor 365 is a farce. That's just a farce, bro. Don't believe everything you see. And very little of what you hear. Especially when you tuned in to the YTC. Be careful about hanging out on the banks of that goddamn waterway. That's standing water you don't want to be a part of. It's polluted, contaminated. Man, be careful. People just go there to take a piss whenever they want on boxing. But understand one thing. Advocating for 365. You cowards sitting up here pushing this narrative when you yourself has never sat up here and advocated across the board for Valor 365 until you found a name that was in somewhat of a verbal jousting with Jerron Ennis. And you said, okay, cool. This is what we've been wanting. Jerron Ennis to do this at 147. He's going to be undisputed, blah, blah, blah. So you pick the villain. The villain is Norman Jr. Okay, cool. Boom, that falls apart. Ennis switches it up. He wants to go to another division. Cool. What they do is, by default, they have to find a replacement. You know what last-minute replacements are, right? Lo and behold, they go back. Sir Haney, is there any way you can accept our apology? No, hold up. I'm taking all y'all to dinner in New York now. Y'all showing up to that fight? Because my son fighting. Y'all showing up? Okay, cool. I'm taking all y'all to dinner. Okay? We're going to talk about this at the table. So Bill Haney showed up, you know, with a couple of Rottweilers. You know how the story goes. Bill Haney showed up with a couple of Rottweilers, and you know how the story goes with that meeting. He pretty much told them, you better do what you're supposed to do, else some people gonna get hurt. I'm just saying. They came out that dinner, and they knew what the goddamn objective was. Let's put some juice. We don't know if we're fighting them yet, but we just looking out into the future. It's possible that we might fight Norman Jr. We don't know what he got going on. We don't know. That fight just came out of nowhere. Just came out of nowhere. Tito didn't want to fight him. Other people didn't want to fight him. And then they come back around. The fight's being made. Now all the lies come out. The man is on juice from Japan. I want to advocate for a clean sport. I want to advocate for a clean sport, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Nothing like a clean sport with little battery. We want a clean sport. When you don't hear none of these people talking about Reynoso's camp, but they want to pick one black fighter out of the mix and say, yo, that one right there from the South, that's a good starting point for us to kind of make our presence known, yo. He's the one. But man, y'all hold it down, man. Appreciate y'all for pulling up, man. I got things to do. Y'all hold it down. Shout out to the hottest chat in the MFing game, man. Peace.